Today we're diving into whether Sean Strickland truly has the tools to challenge Khamzat Chimaev's dominant wrestling. Strickland is currently scheduled to face Anthony "Fluffy" Hernandez on the upcoming UFC Houston card, but it appears that he and his team already believe his grappling ability is strong enough to deal with both Hernandez and Chimaev. Before this fight was officially announced, Strickland had been openly calling out Khamzat Chimaev, claiming that he is the only man in the division capable of stopping him. Now, Strickland's coach, Eric Nixick, is backing up those claims, suggesting that Sean's ground game could pose real problems for Chimaev if the matchup ever materializes. According to Strickland, the primary reason he pushed for the Hernandez fight was to prove to the UFC and the MMA community that he can shut down that grappling-heavy style. His goal is to demonstrate that he belongs at the very top of the division and eventually earn the opportunity to dethrone Chimaev. During a recent interview with Mike Bond on the Bonfire YouTube show, Nixick spoke in detail about Strickland's wrestling and why it's often underestimated. He explained that those inside the gym fully understand just how skilled Sean is on the ground, even though fans rarely get to see it during fights. Nick joked that Strickland once demonstrated a grappling technique in training that was so surprising, the room was told to take pictures because they'd likely never see it used inside the octagon. Despite that, Nick believes Strickland's wrestling and ground awareness are very real threats. He emphasized that there is significant history between their team and Chimaev, noting that Khamzat has trained with them in the past. If Strickland can get past Hernandez, Nick believes the opportunity to test those skills against Chimaev could finally become a reality. Not everyone agrees with the idea that Khamzat Chimaev is unbeatable at middleweight. Bobby Green and Ura Faber have both come forward with a different perspective, believing that Anthony "Fluffy" Hernandez has the tools to defeat Khamzat right now. During an appearance on the Jackson podcast, both veterans discussed Hernandez's growth and why they believe he could be a serious problem for Chimaev. They described Hernandez as a fighter with exceptional physical attributes who is completely committed to his game plan, a combination they believe is extremely dangerous, according to them. Hernandez fights with confidence, durability, and hunger, carrying the mindset of someone who genuinely believes he can beat anyone in the division. They acknowledge that Hernandez will inevitably be tested at the highest level, but pointed out how much his career momentum has changed over the past 2 years. Much of the hype surrounding Fluffy has come from his massive improvements during that time. Green and Faber highlighted his intense training environment, explaining that Hernandez regularly works with high-level grapplers in grueling rounds that have elevated his skill set significantly. They emphasize that this type of elite grappling-focused training has pushed Hernandez's game to another level and strengthened his belief in himself. That self-belief combined with his physicality was described as a major factor in his success. Ura Faber also reflected on his own experience training with Hernandez, noting that they used to push each other hard in practice. He said Hernandez showed the same relentless, never-quit attitude that defines fighters who go far in the sport. That mental toughness, according to Faber, is one of the most important traits a fighter can have when facing elite competition. Both Green and Faber agreed that Hernandez's mindset, durability, and rapidly improving skill set make him a legitimate threat and potentially one of the few fighters capable of giving Khamzat Chimaev real problems inside the octagon. Staying on the topic of Khamzat Chimaev, new footage surfaced online shortly after our video went live yesterday, showing CHV confronting another fighter following a heated face-off. So what exactly happened? The incident took place at a recent Fitbox Fighting Championship press conference where Khamzat Chimaev was in attendance to support his close friend and teammate Joker Duchev. Duchev is scheduled to compete against Anthony Zedon, and tensions quickly escalated during their official face-off. As the fighters squared off, Zedon began to get overly aggressive, stepping into Duchev's space and pressing into him physically. The situation intensified to the point where Duchev was forced to shove him away. Moments later, Zedon attempted to swing, prompting security to rush in and separate the two before the altercation could turn into a full-blown fight. After security broke things up, Zedon started walking off the stage. That's when Khamzat Chimaev stepped in. Chimaev approached Zedon directly and confronted him over what had just taken place during the face-off. While the exact words exchanged between the two are unclear. Multiple clips showed Chimaev visibly upset as he addressed the situation. Security and event staff quickly intervened again, preventing the confrontation from escalating any further. Chimaev was eventually escorted away as officials attempted to restore order and move the event forward. Although no physical altercation occurred between Chimaev and Zidane, the moment quickly went viral, adding yet another intense chapter to Khamzat's reputation for standing up for his teammates and never backing down from confrontation. As always, Chimaev's presence alone was enough to shift the attention and energy of the entire room. As for Khamzat Chimaev, there is still no official confirmation regarding when his next fight will be booked. However, that hasn't stopped him from stirring the pot. On social media, Chimaev has recently turned his attention toward Alex Pereira, making it clear that he's interested in a potential matchup. Earlier today, Chimaev took to X and began taking shots at Pereira, comparing their records and accomplishments. In one post, Chimaev highlighted Pereira's 15 career wins while pointing out his own record of 13 wins with only 3 losses, suggesting that this difference separates them as fighters. The post immediately caught the attention of fans and sparked debate across the MMA community. Chimaev didn't stop there. He followed up by sharing a clip of Pereira being knocked out and submitted in previous fights, further fueling the rivalry. Shortly after, Chimaev added another message stating that respect is mutual, but once it's gone, it's gone. He implied that excessive trash talk from Pereira's team is the reason he no longer feels the need to show respect. The exchange has quickly gained traction online, with fans speculating whether this is simply social media posturing or the early stages of a legitimate superfight discussion. While no official talks have been announced, Chimaev comments have once again placed him at the center of attention and raised questions about what weight class such a matchup would even take place in. With both fighters known for their aggressive styles and knockout power, the idea of Chimaev versus Pereira is already capturing the imagination of fans. Whether it's realistic or not remains to be seen, but the interest is clearly there. Would you be interested in seeing Khamzat Chimaev and Alex Pereira face off inside the octagon? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Justin Gay's coach, Trevor Wittman, did not hold back following UFC Reverser directing strong criticism toward Paddy Pimblett for the trash talk that surrounded the fight. In the moments after Guy's dominant and punishing victory, Wittman spoke candidly in the locker room, making it clear that Pimblett's pre-fight comments had crossed the line. Emotions were understandably high after what many described as a brutal performance by Gay. But despite the intensity of the moment, Wittman largely maintained his composure. He emphasized that at his core, he still respects Paddy Pimblett as a fighter and as a competitor. However, he made it equally clear that respect has limits, especially when personal and inflammatory comments are involved. Wittman explained that while confidence and promotion are part of the sport, there is a difference between selling a fight and being outright disrespectful. Certain remarks made by Pimblett in the lead up to the matchup deeply bothered him, particularly comments about harming Guy. According to Wittman, statements like that go beyond normal trash talk and create unnecessary tension. He stressed that fighters can promote themselves and still remain respectful, pointing out that many athletes manage to do so without resorting to personal attacks. Wittman acknowledged that he tried not to let the comments affect him emotionally, but admitted that hearing someone speak so aggressively about his fighter made it difficult to ignore. In closing, Wittman suggested that the outcome of the fight spoke for itself. He implied that when a fighter makes bold and disrespectful claims before stepping into the octagon, they should be prepared to back them up. In this case, he felt that Gates' performance was the ultimate response, serving as a reminder that words carry consequences in a sport as unforgiving as mixed martial arts. In the same locker room interview, Trevor Wittman revealed a surprising detail about Justin Gage that quickly caught fans' attention. According to Wittman, Guy weighed approximately 85 lbs on fight night when he stepped into the octagon against Paddy Pimblett. Yes, you heard that correctly. Gaddis reportedly rehydrated to 85 pounds, yet still went out and delivered a dominant performance. Wittman pointed out that despite constant criticism, Gate once again proved that he is far more than just a brawler, while many fans continue to claim that Justin cannot grapple. This fight told a very different story. Gate not only made weight like a true professional, but he also used his strength and skill to control and physically overwhelm his opponent. When you break it down, that means Pimblett was essentially fighting someone who was comparable in size to a UFC middleweight, despite the bout being contested at lightweight. Githch reportedly gained nearly 30 lbs from the official weigh-ins to fight night, creating a significant size disparity inside the cage. This revelation has reignited the long-standing debate surrounding extreme weight cutting in the UFC. UFC commentator Joe Rogan has famously referred to weight cutting as sanctioned cheating, arguing that larger fighters who drastically cut weight gain an unfair advantage over smaller opponents. This situation seems to support that argument, especially considering that Pimblett did not appear to gain nearly as much weight back on fight night. He looked only slightly bigger than he did at the weigh-ins, likely rehydrating to somewhere around 65 to 7 would mean Pimblett entered the cage facing an opponent who outweighed him by roughly 15 to 20 lb, while Gethge is far from the only fighter who uses aggressive weight cutting strategies. The situation raises an important question about competitive fairness. Should the UFC consider enforcing stricter rules to ensure fighters compete closer to their natural walking around weight, or should athletes still be allowed to cut a limited amount of weight before stepping into the octagon? It's a complex issue with strong arguments on both sides. What do you think the UFC should do? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Colby Covington had plenty to say following the recent fight, offering a harsh assessment of both Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett's performances. According to Covington, neither fighter looked impressive on the night, and he was especially critical of what he saw inside the octagon. Covington stated that while he thought Gaethje looked bad, Pimblett looked even worse. He described Gaethje as appearing old, slow, and visibly worn down from years of damage. Singleton claimed that Gaethje looked punch-drunk and suggested that the accumulated punishment from his career was starting to show. In his view, Gaethje's performance lacked sharpness and explosiveness, making him look like a diminished version of himself. Turning his attention to Pimblett, Covington argued that Paddy failed to rise to the occasion. He said Pimblett looked sluggish, slow, and technically unpolished, making what he described as basic amateur-level mistakes throughout the fight. According to Covington, Pimblett kept his hands low, lacked urgency, and failed to display the speed or composure expected at that level. Covington also pointed out that this was Pimblett's first time experiencing the pressure of a major spotlight. He emphasized that fighting on a big stage brings added challenges, including an intense media week, weight cutting, and non-stop obligations leading up to fight night. Covington believes those factors overwhelmed Pimblett and played a major role in his performance. He added that Pimblett had talked confidently about becoming a future champion, but when the moment arrived, he failed to deliver. In Covington's view, Paddy froze under the pressure and did not pass the test when it mattered most. While Covington is known for his blunt and controversial takes, his comments have sparked debate among fans about whether Geth is showing signs of decline and whether Pimblett is truly ready for elite-level competition. As always, opinions remain divided, but Covington's remarks have added fuel to the ongoing discussion surrounding both fighters' futures. Khabib Nurmagomedov has revealed important details regarding Umar Nurmagomedov's next fight, outlining two major potential matchups at the top of the bantamweight division. According to Khabib, Umar is expected to face either Sham Ali or Merab Valesvi next, depending on how the UFC decides to move forward. In a recent interview, Khabib explained that the goal is to clearly establish the top tier of the division. He emphasized that it is crucial for the UFC and fans to recognize that there are currently only 4 fighters at the very top: Shan Ali, Merab Valesvi, Petrian, and Umar Nurmagomedov. According to Khabib, this group has separated itself from the rest of the division, and the UFC is well aware of that reality. Khabib went on to explain how the matchups could play out, depending on the UFC's matchmaking decisions. If Peter Yan is booked to fight Merab Valesvi, then Umar Nurmagomedov would be lined up to face Shan Ali. On the other hand, if the UFC decides to match O'Malley with a different opponent, Umar would instead fight Merab. He made it clear that Umar is ready for either challenge and believes both matchups make sense in terms of rankings and competition. From Khabib's perspective, these fights are necessary to determine who truly deserves to be next in line for title contention and to solidify the hierarchy within the division, with Umar continuing his rise and the bantamweight division packed with elite talent. These potential matchups have already sparked significant interest among fans, whether it's a clash with O'Malley's striking or a grueling battle against Meeb's relentless pace. Umar's next fight appears set to be a major test and a pivotal moment in the division's future.